Okay, good morning. Good to see everybody this morning. Just doing my own tech here, so checking in to make sure everybody's getting in okay and no questions. Um, if you would go ahead and make sure you're muted and make sure your video is off just for the duration of the class. Um, as we are, of course, recording these for the archive, so perfect. All right, good to see everybody coming in. And hopefully you're seeing my video mostly, and then everybody else kind of around it the way that I've got it set up here. So I'm Ingrid, and we'll be working with Pilates and Strength this morning. Super excited and happy to be here today just to share with you something I find so beneficial. And some of you were on the talk yesterday with Scott and Colette. And we talked a lot about embodiment, or they talked a lot about embodiment and using these practices in the body to stay in the body, and a lot about meditation. We won't be doing any meditation today. I'm going to stick with the platform or our theme of kind of working with the Pilates and the exercise for a good 45 minutes. It usually goes at least that long. So you'll need weights today. That's pretty much all I have planned is a couple sets of weights. I have 7 pound and 3 pound, but you can have 1 pound and 4 pound, or just kind of a medium, something 5 or under. It really works well for most things. And I'll tell you the ones where you could really probably beef it up if you do find some heavier weights somewhere in the house, or I mean, people have used big laundry jugs, you name it, you can find something heavier. And then of course, we do use the chair quite often for just stability. So if you have a wall or a back of a couch or chair, that really is nice to have. So just want to make sure you've got what you need. Go ahead and get it. And then let's start out on our back so that we can kind of connect into core. Been doing some classes a lot talking about how when we connect into the core, we connect into our adrenals, we connect into our willpower and our centering. So like there's a bunch of things that go on when we do the Pilates work, which is why I think a lot of us are here. We're finding that it really helps keep our energy in a good solid place when we do it at least a few times a week. We do that core stuff. And then it's still nice to round it out, of course, and do our cardio and do our walking and get in nature. And if we love yoga, we do yoga. But I really found this a nice balance, right? To be able to do the strength work and the core work too. So come on to your back. So just taking a few breaths and kind of checking in. Those of you that may have done quite a bit of yoga in your past know that a lot of times we'll use that for these first few moments in the practice just to check in, because we come in from whatever we've been doing in our day, whatever time of day it is, and we have to kind of let some of that be left at the door, and also just to check in where we are, and then we can see, kind of compare before and after. So how are we feeling at this moment? How does it feel to have the body supported for the most part? You get your back supported, the upper back, the lower back. Just noticing, how does that all feel for you today? And then let's bring the hands together. I like to interlace the fingers, bringing them back behind my head. And although this movement seems really so basic, after all of these years doing this, I started doing this in yoga classes with Scott, and he called it the yoga sit-up, and it's really stuff he's borrowed from Pilates. And it just never fails to really help connect the dots here in the center of the body. So as you're ready, lifting the head, just with your arms, lifting the head just to hovering and noticing that heaviness of your head. I like that feeling too. And I notice how my arms have to work a little bit more. And then if I go up some more, then I definitely start using those core muscles, obliques, maybe a little bit of the rectus, and see how far I can lift the shoulders up off the floor. Shoulders, shoulder blades, finding my way up, taking a breath in. And exhaling out. And then let's come down, down, down. Kind of taking that mindfully as well, slowly down. So I don't let it all go at once. I keep those muscles online. And then let's do that again. Finding our way up. Breath comes in. There can be that tendency to draw the legs in toward your ribs, so that the legs are working, tops of the legs or the hip creases. See if you can relax that part of your body, even though you're reaching up with the shoulders for 3, 2, 1, and release back. And let everything be nice and soft. The shoulders get nice and broad. And 3 is a charm. We better do one more, finding our way up. And with this one, if you'd like, go ahead and lift one knee up. Just notice what happens when that knee comes up. And then try the other one, balancing the knees. And still keeping the shoulders coming up and away, really finding that good juicy curl. A little bit of trembling is just great. And then legs can come down. Upper body can come back. Hands could come out from behind the head. And just notice that one pose, one exercise we did 3 times. And if you notice anything different in your body and the mind, for me, that felt really good for the back of my body, my spine. I also feel a little more motivated. I feel a little bit less like I want to go back to bed. And so let's continue this. Let's take the knees up, balancing the knees right over the hips. And this time I've got my shins even with my knees. And I'm trying to let go again in the hip creases. And I'm going to take my heel down toward the floor, tap it, and bring it back up. Heel down, tap, and come back up. So besides this movement, there's a few things I'm thinking about. Steady in my core, steady in my pelvis, so there's not a wobble, and smoothness of the movement. And one thing that tends to happen when I'm watching in studio is that people will do this really quickly. And so mostly that knee coming up movement gets to be really fast. So tapping the heel, coming up, maybe let's count 1, 2 down, 1, 2 up, 1, 2 down, tap, 1, 2 up, 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3 down, tap, 1, 2, 3 up. And maybe you kind of sense there's a little difference there. Let's do one more on each side, kind of counting in my head. One more on each side. And then a little bit different feeling when I get it nice and smooth and kind of even. Bringing the feet down, relaxing. Nice breath. All right. So similar movement with the feet. This time I'm going to let the feet or the legs, I'm going to let the feet come up. And I want to have that similar movement with the legs. 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3 up. And notice I'm not going all the way down. If you're going all the way down, you may have to count to 5 and come back up. So not straight legs And again, I've used that image of a drawbridge, each leg, each thigh bone like a drawbridge going down and coming up. Drawbridges don't, because they're so heavy, they don't move very fast. And now let's add arms. Arms come up over the shoulders. And as your left foot goes down, your right arm goes overhead and comes back up. Same rhythm for your arm as your leg. Slowly goes overhead, comes back up. Slowly overhead, comes back up. Couple more, one on each side. Nice and steady in the torso and the pelvis. And then go ahead and grab onto the legs, draw them in. Even my hip flexors, we were using them there, right? So as much as I was using my belly, my fronts of my legs, so that hip crease got a little bit involved in that because those are the muscles we use to lift our leg. So that works out all right. Take one leg and straighten it out. And then take the other knee up over the hip joint. And take your hands to your pelvic crest. So the part right around your waistline generally, or just below, depending on how hard your waistline goes. But that bony part, the top of the pelvis. And with your hands there, you're going to be able to see if you're it's one way to see if you're wobbling back and forth. So if you move your knee, likely there's some movement in your pelvis. And we want to kind of keep that movement to a minimum. And take your knee and do a small circle, starting going inward toward your pubic bone, then drop the knee away, then to the outside and come back in. You're going to keep the knee bent until you're drawing a circle on the ceiling with your knee. My circles are pretty small today as I keep my pelvis really steady. And I'm going to try the other direction, the knee going outward, downward, inward. And for me, that outward direction really isn't very far. If I want to keep things smooth and I want to keep things nice and even and not wobbly in the pelvis, I can't go out very far with that knee. And then bringing that leg down, let's go ahead and stretch it out. And second side. So now the right leg is nice and long, left knee is bent, hands can be at the pelvic crest, or maybe you're paying attention to the sacrum. There's a little bit of, when I take my knee back and forth, I'm kind of feeling like I'm wobbling back and forth on the sacrum. So I know that's what I don't want to do. So now I'm going to ground everything, use the belly, and start my circles with the knee. Knee circles, starting toward the inside line of the body, medial, coming back around. And if anything, that knee drops away from your ribs, not in toward your ribs. Take it slowly. If you're feeling pretty good here, you could take it a little quicker. I'm taking it kind of in that medium. And I'll try the other direction. Out, down, out, down, in, out, down, in, back to where I started, circling. Good. About 5, maybe 7. Usually the Pilates repertoire is 5 for those, 5 each direction. So then stretch it back out. Good. And then finding your way up. Maybe you use a leg, find your way up. And I want to work a little bit more with the feet without getting onto our feet. We'll be doing that in just a moment, but just working with the ankles and the foot a little bit. So let's work with this, rounding the spine. Your hands could be at your legs. We could do that. Let's stick with that today. So bringing the hands to the backs of the legs, arms out, elbows out, crawl the feet in so they feel like they're just in the right spot. And then I want to work with the foot. So I'm going to extend and then reach through my toes and my heel and bring it back and reach. And I could be right along the floor here, just rounding the spine, really fanning the toes out. So I get that work for the ankles and the lower leg and the feet. So it's toe, heel, toe, come back usually. I've been doing a little bit more than that, toe, heel, toe. So if you want to be particular about it, we could do toe, heel, toe, come back, toe, heel, toe, come back. One more. Can be hovering or you can be sliding along your floor, having support there. Nice. And then coming up and giving yourself a little break in the back area or wherever you might need that, maybe in your hip flexors again. And let's come back behind the sit bones again, onto the tail a little bit. Crawl your feet in, hanging onto the legs. And then let's lift the heels up and do a little balance there. If you want, you could take toes off as well, balancing, pulling the belly in. And then coming back down. Good. Let's take that balance into a little bit of extension. So I'm going to take my feet, turn them out a little bit, knees outward a little bit. Do that same balance. Crawl back, find that balance, and then see if I can take one foot up, back down, other side up, first side up, and then both, and bringing the feet down. So you can do that with always having contact with the floor, or you could do that from a hovering position. So I just did that in a hovering position. If I'm going to keep my toes on the floor, that works just as well. Taking the foot up, back down, other foot up, back down, first side up and down, and both, of course, well, then you are departing very quickly from the floor. Second side starts, 2, 3, and then both. And coming back down, we'll do one more. Out, out. First side, and then both. Did I say one more? I feel like I'm uneven, so I can do one more round here. Both, and then coming up. Good. So I hope you feel lots of good stuff in the core. Lots of, we got the feet working a little bit. So let's come up onto the feet and do a little bit more warm up for the big muscles, the legs, the knees, the ankles, the hips. Turning the toes out. Letting your weight as you bend your knees kind of sink into the feet. Sinking into the feet, and then let your tail be nice and easy. The glutes really don't have to work yet. They will once we start moving, but don't let them be too grippy to start out. And then let's go ahead and come down. Good. So just starting to warm up into my, again, the feet, the shins going forward. Kind of think about those shins going forward because that'll help you drop your hips in case you're shoving yourself backward a little bit into your squat. Let your squat come down. Sometimes we lean forward in a squat, which we're doing. I can show the difference. I just want to get those legs warmed up. Good. Next time you come to that down position, we'll pause here. Good. Taking your weight forward, let's lift the heels. Doesn't have to be a super high lift. Lifting the heels up. Slowly lowering one side. 3, 2, 1. Tap and lift. Other side. 3, 2, 1. Tap and lift. Both heels slowly lowering. 3, 2, 1. Hover the heels. See if you can reach up. Straightening the knees with your heels hovering. Coming back down. So you can just barely feel the mat. You can feel your carpeting just under your heels. If things get a little bit shaky, you know you're on the right track. You know, for creating new neural networks to those muscles, to asking more muscle fibers to join in. Coming up. And this next time you come down, let's go ahead and settle the heels in. Press down to come up. Good, nice work. So we'll take that into some lunging here. I'm just going to have the chair nearby in case I need it. Taking 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. And if I have the chair right here, I can have my hand on it, helping me out a little bit. Bending both knees. So start to bend this back knee already. Bending both knees. Let's come up and down. Good. Good. Coming to straight leg, go ahead and step forward. And then let's add in some movement for the arms before we go to the other side. So light weights could be in my hands, or you can simply move no weights here to start. Open, and then coming forward in the front. Open, coming forward. Open, forward. Kind of making light fists and doing a little squeeze on each end of the movement. So squeezing when I come in, squeezing a little bit back there. Want it to feel nice and strong as I warm up a little more in the upper body. That's it. Feeling good? Nice. So I'll switch sides. I want a different, that other foot forward, other foot steps back. Bending both knees. So already start to bend this back knee. And that back knee, you know what I'm thinking about going down. The front knee will automatically do the bend. Hands could be at my waist. If I wanted, I could even hold some weights in my hands. So if you wanted to quick grab them, you could. Always adding a little bit of weight. These legs can push a lot. Good work. Couple more. All right, and then stepping forward. Nicely done. So now I am going to grab some weights here. These are my lighter ones. And I'm going to do that same W motion. Call these W's. They're not quite a W. Kind of go into cactus arms when we work with this one. So bottles of water, cans of soup or beans, Bush's baked beans. Good. Nice. And then bring those arms down. Good. Let's take the feet into parallel. And as long as you have your chair there, you could use this chair for a point of reference. So we've done this in a couple classes before where you're taking your squat down and you have the chair there as a marker. Can I get down to hover above that chair? So it's up to you if you want to do that today. And we're going to start out maybe where we don't hit the chair yet. Just start out nice straight knees, feet straight ahead, shins going forward to drop your seat. So same as we were working on, but now the ankles are in a different orientation. So let's just go ahead and let those shins go forward. Right. And now I'm going to see if I can drop down a little more and just point of reference for myself too. Can I come down to that chair each time? Or if you're watching yourself, you could kind of notice, am I going down to that same point with my seat pretty much each time? And then coming down, we're going to come down and pause. Come down and pause. I'm going to do a little pulse. A little bounce just down here. Oh, I'm feeling that. Yeah, so the legs are finding that. Been doing lots of walking. Press up. Enough of that for me today, but maybe you were fine continuing on. Good. I'm going to shake that out. Nice work. Okay, so I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to take the elbows here in front, and then I'm going to take them up and come back down in front. And take them up and come back down and up and back in. Up and back in a little bit. Presses up, coming back. Good. So I've got lighter weights. If you have 5 or better, you might be starting to feel a little toasted, like your form is going someplace that's not quite what we're doing. So you can take a break at any time. I'm gonna do another 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice. Perfect. So coming back, I'm going to use that chair back or not. I might have my weights in my hands. And time to shed a layer. So you're going to have your hand at your wall or at the chair. And we're going to work with alternate lunges. So you might find after a couple you have steady feet today that you don't need the chair. But basically you're going to step back, do the lunge, step forward. Step back, do the lunge, step forward. So depending on how far back you go, one thing about stepping the foot way back is we get a little more room for the knee to come down. If you go closer to the body, you're just not going to feel like you want to bend maybe as far. So when I go close, it ends up being kind of a little squat. I could take my hands away, have weights there. Step, step. A couple more alternating lunges. All right, and then up to the feet again. All right, so we've done, I think these are Z presses, but it's just maybe somebody else is making up of them, but where we started up here and went up. Let's take that, I'm gonna take my heavier weights now for the next few arm things, but you don't have to. So we'll start with some rows. And since the rows really work mostly the back here, by my shoulder blades, back of my armpits, I can handle a little more weight there. So I'm going to come forward. Got the chair, I could be sitting on the chair, kind of leaning forward. So there's an alternate way to do it. And I'm just gonna bring those elbows in by my sides and let them go. Bring them in, bring them in. Squeezing up here. Nice. Couple more here. Yeah, I'm gonna pause that there. Call it good. Switch to biceps. So front of the body, you could alternate one at a time. Mindful of your form, just like when we did knee folds earlier, right? There can be a lot of momentum coming up or a lot of momentum going down. See if you can even out your movement. Up and down are pretty similar in their timing. It's not essential, but it's kind of nice, especially on the way down, that we're not completely leaving the movement right away. Let the muscle get strong as it gets long. Not just strong when it's short, right? You want to be strong along the entire range of motion of your muscle. So there's the reason for that little instruction. Slow it down as you lengthen. Slow it down. Slow it down. Slow it down. And then for me, with my 7s or 10s, that would be enough repetitions of those biceps for this set. So then we want to head into, let's see, let's do the triceps. So into this position again, a little bit forward with my spine, pulling the elbows up near my body. And instead of this movement we did earlier, letting the hands come down, the hands are going to press back, the elbows stay right there. Since I have a little bit heavier weight, I think I'm going to do one at a time. But if you had your 3s, maybe even your 5s, you might feel like pressing both is fine. I'm going to do one at a time here because these are a little heavier for this particular movement in my body today. Just noticing that's a lot to press back for me in this position. I'm going to keep my head in this nice position. Shoulder blades pulled in and tucked in a little bit. All right. Then coming down with those. Okay, so then I want to take the feet kind of hip distance apart. This admittedly is a little more, it's going to feel like, what are we doing with the hands? It's a little more leg work. So we're talking about muscles strong when they're long. And as we bend forward, of course, we're lengthening the whole back of our body, including into the low back. So like this whole chain gets long. So I want you to think about a little bit of soft knees here and strong legs. I'm kind of energizing my legs right around my knees, the muscles in the front of the legs, and then that nice strong back. And I'm going to take the weights forward. So I've got my heavier weights. I'm going to slowly take that weight forward. Belly, of course, is going to work. And then to come up, we shorten that whole back line. So back of the body, nice and strong, is gripping, is working. So let's try that again as we go forward slowly. We're lengthening, but still strong. As far as you'd like to go forward, definitely starting to feel that stretch there. And then as I come up, I'm really thinking of, can I bring everything together, shorten the hamstring? That's what's really helping us come up right here. The glutes, maybe a little bit, the hamstring back there. So it's getting shorter, really working. Let's do 2 more. Coming forward. And then kind of zipping up This one a little bit differently than I've been doing. I am coming up a little faster than I'm going down. A little more mindful on the way down as I keep things on as I go forward and then come up nice and strong. Did I say two? One more for good measure. And coming up. Nice. Good. So hope you felt everything really working well there. Core is working, backs of the legs working. Nice work. Okay, so now let's go to hands and knees. And you will need your lighter weights probably. Looking through my list. Oh, you may not need them yet here. Yes. So I'm just gonna move my chair a little bit out of the way, hands and knees. So this way, I'm gonna find the hands, feel the knees, walk the hands out. Hands walk out one hand length and check out your elbow points. So the point of your elbow might be kind of pointed outward. See if you can swing it in to point it more toward your legs, more toward your knees. That those elbow points pointing inward, your fingers still connected, so that especially the first finger and thumb, as those elbows point towards your legs, slowly coming down. Elbows coming down and then press back up. So the one thing that we do when I work with this, if your hands aren't forward enough, your hips will move back. See if you can find a spot where your hands can be, where those elbows come down and your hips don't have to move. So coming down and coming up, back up, I'm just hardly landing the elbows and I'm pressing back up. You can also come down and hover, hovering the elbows just above the mat, pressing back up. Let's see if I can do two more of those. Hover, press back up, come back down, hover, and come back up. And then crawl the legs in and release that. So hopefully you're feeling a little bit of something here. If not, we'll work on the orientation so you do. Triceps. There is some forearm things that can come up too. So if you were feeling a little of that, it's not uncommon. Good. Well, let's come to hands and knees again. Neutral spine and taking one leg back. Turning the toes under, reaching through the heel. And again, nice strong legs. So see if you can find that front of the leg gathering up and squeezing to support the knee. And then that'll register down the rest of the leg. And bringing that leg back in and try the other side. Reaching that toe under, squeezing that top of the leg. And then bringing the leg back. And then let's try both. So one leg goes out, get that nice strong leg. Second side. Both legs really nice and strong. Core now gets to help. Watch the head alignment. It tends to droop forward, really pressing yourself away from the mat. Reaching back through the heels, pulling up with the belly. Even around the ribs, it can be helpful to pull up a little bit and expand through the upper back. 3, 2, 1. Good. And bring the feet, knees back down. And maybe come to the fists just to give your wrists a little and your hands a little break. Drop the head and come into a curl. And then come out of that curl, put your hands back down. And we're going to come into the curl again, this time with our hands pressing down. You're going to turn your toes under.
Curl up as much as you can, really pulling the belly up, all parts of the belly. And you may stay right here, pressing your hands, pulling the belly up, or you might see if you can lift the knees just off the mat and continue to press. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Knees come down, rest. So maybe you rest back in a child's pose. Maybe you sit up, give it a little break. Okay, so something new to try. That one may be new for you. I did that one during the summer at some point. Here's another. So what happens if we turn the toes under? We lift the knees. I'm not in that curled position anymore. And we lift the knees. There's something to work with right there. Another option, take one foot back. Keep that other knee lifted. Come back. Switch. Other foot goes back. Comes back to that bent knee, still lifted. One foot back. Forward. Other foot back. And forward. And bring the feet down and let the toes. So that was pretty interesting on my feet. Maybe it was for you too. And maybe it's something we won't try again. Maybe it's something that we'll work towards with the feet again. So I'm going to walk my knees back a little bit so I can lower down to my belly. And let's work a little bit with some extension in the spine. That means we're either back bend or it's like lengthening the spine outward through the crown of the head. So let that be your image, that the top of your head can reach across the room without necessarily lifting the head up yet. Because a lot of times what we do is we bypass that extension by just moving the chin. And we aren't really extending the spine then in the neck. The neck just gets kind of crushed in there, the back of the neck there. So if I want to keep the back of the neck nice and long and reach my head across the room, what might that feel like, look like? Nose is still, eyes are still looking downward. Full exhale and coming back down. So that extension once more. Inhale. Back of the neck nice and long. Exhale, come down. Inhale, extension. And exhale. Come back down. And in other classes, other times, we might talk about how either we move the chin or we take all of that pose in the low back. So if you're feeling anything in the low back, don't come up as far until we can kind of fine tune this reach through the crown of the head. And it involves the whole back at some point, depending how high you come up. But let's take this into swan. So the hands are near my body, elbows are tucked in near the body. And the first part of the movement is inhale. And the second part of the movement, Pilates here, exhale, press. Hips, chest, all the way up to the knees. Lower down, see if you can keep those elbows near the body. Sometimes that feels okay, sometimes it doesn't. You might have to adjust where your hands are. Inhaling, lift that nice extension. Exhale, press. Body away, lower down. Inhale. Nice long back of the neck. Exhale, coming up, lower down. See if we can do one more. Inhale. Exhale. And then come up to hands and knees and stretch back a little bit. Okay. A quick come to.
either standing or your chair. So here both. You can be standing if you'd like. But I also wanted to show sitting on the floor, you can do this. That's probably the hardest version, sitting on a chair or standing. So any place is going to be an okay place. And we're just going to do another set of some of the arm work. So we've done all of these standing. We're just going to add on. So I'm going to take my weights up in front, and then overhead. Kind of down, in front, and overhead. Up. And I've got my heavier weights now. I'm very warmed up. And I may not get as many reps in, I may not do as many as I did before. I probably did 12, 15 before with my lower weights of these. Starting to feel a little cooked. And I'm just watching the form I want to have here, feeling connected. And I'm going to bring those weights down. Good. Let's move into biceps. I'm going to bring those weights just by my thighs and come up. There we go. And see if I can allow the weight to go all the way into full extension of my arm with me connected into that movement. Couple more. Got my heavier weights. Feels good. All right. So I said earlier, you should be able to do your rows here. So how can we do a row? Guess I'm going to have to go forward a little bit. Do a quick little turn. Sit at the edge of my chair. Come forward and row. Again, you can be standing just like we did earlier. Connecting into my feet, to my seat. I want to stay in the body. Talked a lot about that last week, right? Embodiment through the practice. I think a lot of our cues keep us in the body. Can we feel the muscles that are working? Can we be in those muscles that are working so that we don't depart the body? And I'm feeling pretty good about that number there, whatever number that was. Hope somebody was counting. All right. Whether you're standing or seated, one thing we can do here is take the weights near the chest and come forward. So similar to our deadlift, and then come back up. Our deadlift was standing, we took those weights down, and then we came back up. So I think that is possible here. Lots of core work going. I get a little less leg seated, right? It's a little more, I'm not going to go as far. I'm just going to testing it out. But my feet are really planted. Coming back up. Could take the weights down between my legs, come back up. Still getting a lot of great work. It feels a little more core like in the seated, but I just feel my legs working still. Really planted the legs, the feet. All right, nice. So let's come onto the floor, onto your back. Move my chair all out of the way here. So nice, big breath. Checking in, see how I feel. Pretty close to the end of our time, our workout. I'm just going to do a couple things to bring things back into center. to give myself a little bit of cool down time. It's not the same as cardio, but want this time to check in. And let's draw the knees in toward you. And then let's gradually take the knees to one side, just a little bit, rolling over. I'm not going to let the legs go so far that they start to tip me all the way over. I'm really watching the back of the body. So one side hip is coming up, yes, but my whole lower back is kind of coming with it. So I'm not trying to twist in my lower back at all. I have my core. The more I go with the knees, the more my core is helping out. It's kind of a mix between some core work in the front and a nice massage for my upper pelvis in the back. And then coming to your center, bring the feet down. Pressing down through the feet, lifting the hips. Shins forward, feet forward. And if you wanted, you could bring your elbows to the side of the body, fingertips upward, and really open the chest a little bit. The upper arms are pressing down a little bit, but my head and neck are nice and easy. Slowly lowering down, giving up that effort in the upper body. Each part of the spine coming down. Bringing one leg in, grabbing on to the back of that leg. See if you can stretch a little bit upward. Doesn't have to be that you have a straight leg. Let's see if you can pull that leg in a little bit. Could reach through your toe and heel, exploring if you'd like. Full breaths out to really feel your back, whatever part of your back is on the floor. And then bring that leg back down, and we'll try the other side. So I don't do a lot of passive stretching, and here is kind of the same thing. I'm testing out the waters a little bit, and I like how it feels in the back of my body. And if I want to add a movement, I'm going to move my foot into that flex and point position, or maybe rotate the ankle. And I'm not really going for that gonzo stretch here, but just because I pulled the leg in, I'm already in a stretch. So I'm not asking for more than that. Full exhales, wide forehead. Bring that foot down. And then let's roll to your side. So I'm going to shift my weight a little bit, hips a little bit, come to my side. I happen to have a meditation cushion here. Just going to get that for my head. You don't have to have it. Your head can be on the floor. Draw the knees up. And then let's take that top arm up. Keep your legs right where they were. So knees are together, hips are stacked. And go ahead and open up the chest. So center of your chest opening is what you want to think about. And that arm can come back, and that arm can reach up at a diagonal a little bit. It's a nice little stretch here. Again, it's a little bit passive, but we're really going for this movement of the ribs going back. Ribs opening up, twisting. Breath, breath. The arm is just kind of a fun little addition. Bring it down in front. And then we need to switch sides. So you can just roll over onto your back and then onto your other side. Coming on to your other side. And drawing the knees up. And then remember, we'd like to move upper body. So think of your whole chest area moving, opening up toward the ceiling. It doesn't, the center of my chest doesn't point upward or anything. But right there, I've gotten 90% of what I want to get. Breathing, ribs. And then if that arm, that big long arm wants to reach out, and I might even change the angle of that arm to go upward a little more, to go outward a little more. Breath in each spot. Bring that arm back up and coming back onto your side. And go ahead and flip onto your back. And one last check-in. Bringing your attention into the back, into the whole of your core, into the space behind your forehead. And just notice. And taking in a nice deep breath. And you could stay there as long as you'd like. If the meeting goes away, yours will just go away too. Or if you're ready, you can slowly come up to seated. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Hey, thanks, Ingrid. That was great. That was a great mix of Pilates and weights. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's really good. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I feel great now.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Happy
Sarah and
Thanksgiving.
Judy, yeah. Happy Thanksgiving. Yep.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Ingrid, your
Yeah,
family.
thank you. Thank you. You as well. Everybody stay safe.
Yeah.
Get lots of walks in.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi there, how are you?